Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is back in effect, brought to you by Hustler Casino. I'm Steve Kim, joined by our Commander-in-Chief, Mario Lopez.
See what you did there. Very topical. Thank you, Kimster. Shout out to Smokin' Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits. In our return, the bout sheet. We have fight review, fight preview. We look at Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson at AT&T Stadium. Ask Mario and Final Flurries. But before we get started, just want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino. Beat the congestion and enjoy free parking every day at Hustler Casino. Introducing So Fine Sundays, where every Sunday you can win tons of cash with drawings every 2 hours from 12 noon to 8 p.m. Stop by and see how big you can win at Hustler Casino.
Round 1.
All right, round number 1. We take a look at what happened this past weekend. Friday night from the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia on ESPN Plus, presented by Top Rank. Mario, I think Keyshawn Davis made a statement because, as we like to say, sometimes it's not if you win, but how you do so. And blowing out a tough Gustavo Lemos in 2, I think this young man is ready for some of the big targets at 135.
Well, we've been a fan of his for a while, and he's continued to pass the eye test, and he is closing out the year strong. And yes, just 2 rounds to get down. Now, listen, I know he's young, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in line for a title shot this early this next year. And I think not only will he be competitive, I think he's got a really good shot. There's still some questions I think that need to be answered, and that can only be answered over time. But he's always prepared. He's quick, compact, precise with those punches. Young, strong. Like what I see in him.
I mean, let's take a look at some of the variables that existed in this fight. Gustavo Lemos gave Richardson Hitchens, a legitimate junior welterweight contender about 4 or 5 months ago, hell. That was a very close fight. Then this guy decides to blow off weight by 6+ pounds, and I believe it was very strategic, and I hate it because I think him and his team knew Keyshawn Davis sold over 10,000 tickets. It's a hometown performance. What are they going to do? Pull the plug? So they had to make some deals like, hey, early morning, you can't be too much overweight. But I like the way Keyshawn Davis was focused, and Mario, like you said, his accuracy was like a sniper in there with those power shots.
Yeah, to go back on what you just said right now, that little ploy.
I hate that.
It's the worst, man. And I don't know if Garcia on a high level set of precedents, but there's got to be more severe penalties. But then what do we do? Do they not fight and then we suffer we're the worst for wear for it? So it's like, it's a tough quandary. It's not like next man up. This is an individual sport.
And again, we're literally talking about 24 to 36 hours before the fight. It's not even a week. It's literally a day. And unless you have another lightweight on that undercard that is then willing to say, okay, you know what, I'll play by the rules, throw me a little bit of money. Because look, a guy like Lemos says, all right, you know what, go ahead, take half my purse. I'm trying to win the fight, and I'll cash off of that. If I was the commissioner, if someone pulled that off, I would tell Top Rank, try to get that fight off, let me handle Lemos, and right after the fight, I'd say, okay, you're suspended 2 years.
Yeah, there you go. I was just thinking, what's a way to do it? Because you don't want to ruin all the hard work and the people that suffer to put that on.
Play by the rules.
Yes, but you let the event go on fine, but then afterwards they do have to. That's a good way to handle it.
And I'm glad that karma really kicked in here because Keyshawn Davis, again, did everything correctly. And you never know. Look, most Argentinians are strong, rugged, tough guys when they cut weight. Mm-hmm. He was literally more than a weight class above the contracted limit.
All the more impressive what Keyshawn was able to do.
And to do that against a guy that had never been stopped before and to blow him out. Keyshawn Davis, as I look at the landscape at 135, look, he's made it clear. Me and Shakur Stevens are like brothers. We're not going to fight. Okay. But at the IBF, Vasyl Lomachenko may be retired. There could be a vacant belt there. And I would say, based on what I have seen, he would be a solid favorite over the WBO champion, Denis Beranchyk. So by this time, let's say in 5 to 6 months, when the calendar turns to 2025, he could be wearing a major belt around his waistband. And also, it's clear he is the most popular boxer from this area since the great Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker. It brought back a lot of memories. When I was growing up as a kid, I loved that 84 team. And he would be at the scope early on against Roger Mayweather, Paulie Diaz, and he used to be a big-time attraction. In fact, he was the pro franchise there. And when I saw Keyshawn walking out, I really did think of my own childhood in the 80s, growing up really in Valencia, California, then Montebello. So congratulations to Keyshawn and Mario. We've been high on Abdullah Mason. He ran into a bit of a speed bump against Johan Vasquez, who didn't read the script. He got dumped twice on his way to a second-round knockout. Was that a character builder, or did something get exposed there?
I don't know if necessarily anything got exposed. I think when you're used to being dominant and taking guys out of there, you may be a little defensive. You may be vulnerable defensively.
Yeah.
Because you're so used, you have so much confidence. Maybe you're not as defensively minded with the hands up, with the chin not tucked as much as natural. Look, this is prize fighting at this level too. Anything can happen. I don't care how talented you are. Sometimes you can do everything right and you still get caught. I think it's the fact that he was able to close the show out the way he did after that, I think speaks volumes to his character. And I think he's going to grow for it. I think he's young enough to where I don't think it's going to really matter. It reminds me, I saw an old clip with all these boxing sites that I follow on IG that when a young De La Hoya got dropped by
Giorgio Campanella and Narciso Valenzuela.
Exactly. I was looking at that. Oscar had his hand perfectly placed. He did nothing, quote, wrong. Sometimes the damn punch just lands. Sometimes it's going to catch you right at the same time, and that's boxing. But he got up, he answered, ended up taking him out. So sometimes it is what it is.
And in
how you respond is what's...
Yeah, and he responded very well, and he's a high-character young man. There's no doubt about that, and he can be better from this. But in both instances, when he threw that punch, as the old-time trainers would tell you, hey, don't stick around and take a picture.
Right.
He took a Polaroid, and it was a flash. It flashed knockdowns, and look, he built some character, but there are some things to work on moving forward. And then the next night in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, brought to you by The Zone and Matchroom Boxing, and still the IBF welterweight champion of the world, Jaron Boots Ennett with a 12-round decision over Karen Kachaksian, and then WBC super flyweight champion Jesse Bam Rodriguez blows out Pedro Guevara in 3. Mario, I'm just going to be very honest about it, and you know I've been the biggest advocate of Jaron Boots Ennett. Did you sense a little vulnerability in that particular performance?
See, I don't know if it's that. He's looked so strong in his other fights. I think sometimes it's kind of like when Tyson was knocking everybody out, then he happens to go the distance with someone. Oh, he slipped. Maybe he's exposed, this and that. Yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think he fought against a guy who knew him, was very well prepared. He didn't read the script.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He don't know that it's a damn show.
He thinks it's a damn fight.
Yeah, exactly. I love those those old Rocky scenes. But I think that Boots... 2 will be better. We hadn't been there in a minute, and I thought he still looked good. It was just in as dominant as we had seen him in the past. He did catch a little more than we're used to, and I think that's what's surprising. He also, and I'm not surprised to hear this, said that he feels his weight may have made a difference. So maybe he's been struggling a lot, and a lot of the extra energy or the pop wasn't there. And maybe he will be that much stronger and sharper if he does move up to 54. He's a big kid. He hasn't shown me that he's not disciplined or focused, and maybe because sometimes it is. Look, we saw it. Remember back in the day when Victor Ortiz was killing himself to make 140, he went to 147. He had those great wars, and he looked like a completely different fighter when he fought Andre Berto. Maybe that's the case. He didn't look awful. We just saw him get touched up a little bit more, and it wasn't the dominant performance that we thought we were gonna see. I, for one, because I know he's the number 1 rated welterweight right here, but I, for one, think it would bode well for him to move up. I think he'd be that much stronger. I think that's a good weight class for him, and I wouldn't be mad at that. What do you think about that?
Unless he can get some of the other belt holders immediately in the next fight, whether that's Brian Norman, who, by the way, will have to pay taxes on it, or a guy like Imantas Stanionis, I agree with you. Here's what I think. First of all, credit to Chikazian. This time around, he said, you know what? We're not here to dance.
No, he stood there.
Yeah.
He stood there and wanted to bang. Good for him.
And what was that movie? With James Olmos. He stood and delivered. from the very first round. He stood right there, and I thought he hit him with the left hook at the end of round 1, and I said, oh, did that actually buzz Boots?
Yeah.
Now, here's where I think Jaron Ennis has been. Because some of his fights, he's been so dominant, it became one-way traffic. And look, if you're a driver, driving in a freeway, going straight is easy. Never have to brake, never have to really look. Try driving in a two-way traffic in New York City. It's a little bit more difficult, and Karin actually provided two-way traffic. And you're right, if he's at that stage, 32 fights in, he's never moved up in weight, he's getting into his late 20s, there comes a point of diminishing returns because he's a very big welterweight.
And I think absorbing the punches, too, I think it means a lot.
Yes.
As soon as you're able to have your legs under you and your ass under you a little bit, if he goes up, I think he doesn't maybe react as strong to some of those punches. Maybe his reflexes are strong enough and he's sharp enough to even counter and block some of those. But I'm not giving any excuses because Karin did a really good job, too. But at the same time, it was a sign to me like, because I didn't realize it was there his whole his whole career so far, then it might be a good idea. If he can't get one of those other guys right away.
Just move up.
Move up.
Because it's not like it's Trinidad De La Hoya or Crawford Ennis. Those other welterweight belt holders are not necessarily what I would call marquee big names. And the other thing...
and ironically, Crawford's up there.
Right, but it's interesting how one fight can change the perception of what you are. 6 months ago, everyone thought Jaron Boots Ennis is a pound-for-pound talent, and after this fight, you have guys like Sean Porter who are generally very measured in their comments using the word overrated. Flat out said it on Twitter.
I don't know if I'd say that. I saw, speaking of Crawford, he tweeted something too.
Yes,
says,
he did.
Not every night's your night, and sometimes I thought he was pretty respectful. Actually, I don't remember it being too bad, but. I think people don't realize how weight and if you've been draining yourself, how it can affect you, especially once you've been there for years.
I get the sense that Terrence Crawford made that tweet as a way of saying,
like, aha,
stay in your lane.
Yeah, kind of like an aha.
You're good away from me.
Right.
Trust me.
But it's getting interesting if he goes up to 54.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got, you know what I mean? He's he's young.
Well, now they're in the same weight class.
Now we're in the same weight class. He's got a little more strength to him, a little more pop.
And Mario, you know who really did look like a legitimate pound-for-pound entrance this weekend?
Bam.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Ooh.
Bam. Look, another guy we've been high on for a while and has such a nice little resume. And you forget when we're talking about these pound-for-pound guys, I think Bam.
24.
Yeah, but he could be in that conversation.
No,
as young
he
as
should be in the top half dozen.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And it's like we don't mention him as often when we're having that discussion, but we should because the names on his resume, he looks sharp, but he got it under the three. And boy, he stole the spotlight that night. And that was a durable guy he took out too. And as soon as I saw that too, automatically my mind started playing fantasy matchups. I'm like, how would he do with a Nakatani? Or how would he do with an Inoue? And what do you think?
See, here's the issue. Keep this in mind. He's still at 115. Nakatani's at bantamweight. Inoue's at 22. Yeah. I know for a fact, with our good friend Rudy Hernandez, he would take that fight in a nanosecond.
Really?
Would not hesitate.
Really?
And keep this in mind. Junto doesn't have the resume, but here's what he has. The stature and the length.
He does.
So
but Bam's got those angles.
Right.
That accuracy.
And he's compact.
Yes, those short, compact to get inside. Ooh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and the one thing about Bam, though, what he does, the spins, the pivots.
The footwork's beautiful.
The footwork, the execution, the placement of the punches.
It's very savvy and for a young guy, it's like he's fighting like a veteran.
There was one knockdown where Guevara was on the ground. I don't think he even knew he was hit because he created a blind spot and it hit him out of nowhere. And the angles that he does, it is absolutely exquisite what he does. It's art form on canvas is what Bam Rodriguez done, who retains his WBC super flyweight champion, just adding to his resume and strong body of work. All right, we'll be back. More of the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
What? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
All right, we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino. We just want to let you know, are you looking to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our fine program? We still have spots available. Please email info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on Boxbid. Boxbid.io handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with them.
Review preview.
All right, moving on. More of the fight preview or reviews, things that we missed last week during our hiatus. November 2nd at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, presented by Top Rank. And the new, once again, WBC Junior Lightweight Champion of the World in a split decision in 12 rounds over Robeson Fonseca. Your scores, 115, 113 across the board. Mario, this is the ironic thing. I thought this was a close fight. I actually thought that in this one, Fonseca made a stronger argument of winning. What happened to taking it from the champion? Someone brought that up to me, and I said, are we being hypocrites here?
Yeah, I did too, but I've never liked taking it from the champion.
Neither have I.
You run the race, you cross that line first.
That's it.
You got it. The whole taking it from the champion. Now listen, if it's incredibly, incredibly close, maybe could have gone either way, then maybe I lean towards the champion. But I'm always I'm always sort of favoring the guy, whoever's initiating the action, whoever seems like they want it more.
And in this fight, I thought Foster made a concerted effort to say, I'm not going to lay back. No dead spots. I'm going to try to force the action. And it actually made for a much better fight because Fonseca had to stand and deliver. Here's the interesting thing, though. When you talk about the championship privilege, you're right. You could play the NBA champions, but they don't get to start the game off 8-0.
Right.
The Dodgers are the World Series champions. They don't get to start every game 3-0 in the first inning. Basically, the championship privilege means most of the time you get more of the money. You can kind of control more of the financial terms, maybe where the fight is. But as soon as the bell rings,
that's it. We're all leaving.
Blue corner, red corner, duke it out.
That's exactly.
It.
I agree 100%. That's always bugged me.
Yeah. And looking at the landscape at 130, Ring Magazine has Emmanuel Navarrete at number 1. He is going to be rematching Oscar Valdez on December 7th. He's number 3. Foster is number 2. Anthony Cacace, the IBF belt holder, is number 4. And the Lamont Roach, who may or may not be fighting Tank at the beginning of 2025, is the WBA champion. Mario, how does Foster match up against the winner of Valdez Navarrete?
Well, that's a fun fight.
Good clash of styles.
It's a good clash. I was just going to say, I like the contrast in styles. Ooh, I think it's whoever, if either Navarrete or Valdez is able to impose their will and make it their kind of fight, I think it's a long night for Oshaki. But if he decides to stand and deliver with counter shots and stay in the pocket and be very clever defensively, and fight from the outside, then he could have some success. But again, you never know until you kind of see them in there and see who's more well-prepared and willing to implement their game plan.
Keep this in mind about Shock. He went to Mexico and banged it out with a very rugged Rocky Hernandez.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's not afraid to get into a fight, and if you bring the fight to him, again, maybe he's not comfortable initiating, but as a counterpuncher, as a reactor,
that could be to his benefit.
That could be peanut butter and jelly. And Mario, you know a guy that also looked like a lightweight contender ready to make some noise? Raymond Murataya just iced Jesus Perez in 2.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, he's up and down like the Dow Jones. But when he's on, I think he's as good a puncher at 135 as there is. And again, I'll go through the lightweight.
That's an exciting division
It
right
is.
now.
He's rated number 6 by Ring Magazine, so he's a legitimate contender. And talking to some of the brain trust at Top Rank, they have been frustrated by his inconsistency. But this performance got them going, okay, we're back on the bandwagon. If he should fight a Dennis Baranchik, I would make him the favorite. Vasyl Lomachenko, again, may be retired. Maybe that's a vacant belt. And Shakur Stevenson looks like he has his heart set on William Zepeda. Now, here's an interesting fight. Back in the old days, they would have done this in a best-of-5 series at the Olympic Auditorium. How about Murataya against Zepeda? What a fight that would be, wouldn't it?
That'd be good. That'd be good. I don't want it to leapfrog Shakur, though.
Right.
But I'll take it.
Right, and Mario, also on this weekend, November 2nd, from the Virgin Hotels, Golden Boy had a show on the Zone. Floyd Schofield had some issues, but he got past Renee Tellez Giron. I'm just going to say this. Floyd Schofield is a guy that's very precocious. His dad is very bold, but I'll be honest, I don't see a blue chip talent. I do not see a guy that's ready for the Tank Davises or the Shakur Stevenses of the world. Believe it or not, he's actually number 2 in the WBA with Tank. I don't think he's ready. Everyone keeps telling me that he is, but when a relatively slow, limited plugger like Giron can buzz you and I had him not out on his feet, but knocked him down, I said to myself, he's like that old Cheez-Its commercial with that big block of cheese. Not ready. Not ready. And I don't know what the rush is. But again, these fathers, they want to be in the fast lane.
No, see, as a dad, I'd want to take my time.
Take it slow.
Yeah,
he's still very young, by the way.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Fight preview. This Friday night, we're going to Mike Tyson and Chill. It's going to be on Netflix from AT&T Stadium. The main event, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul with a bunch of rules. 2-minute rounds, this and that. Is that a real fight? I mean, I know they're hitting each other, but
it's a novelty fight. And look, I always credit everyone who has the balls to get in there. It takes a lot of guts to get in there. And Jake Paul has done a really good job of creating this niche for himself where he's made a lot of money.
Good for him.
As this kid who was on YouTube, and now he's like this sort of boxing circus phenomenon that's managed to work, and he's created this brand for himself. And to have a legend like Mike in there, I don't want to embrace it because who doesn't love Mike? And my guy's almost 60 years old. I just don't want to see him getting hurt. Jake, I almost called him Logan, but Jake, who, like I said, I respect and all that, looks like he's young. He looks like he's juiced to the gills. he's young, strong, and he's going up against a Mike who has been chilling, smoking a lot of weed, and he's vocal about this. Handfuls of shroom. I've seen it with my own eyes at the same time. And God bless him. He's lived a great life. He should be able to do what he's going to do. What does Jake get from winning from this? Let me ask you. Let's say he beats and even knocks out Mike. Right. People aren't gonna really dig you.
You just beat a 58-year-old
you beat an almost 60-year-old guy who's a legend. Where do you go from there? That's not a good look.
I don't think this legitimizes his boxing.
No, not at all. This is a pure. Now look, Mike, I love everyone in the world. Of course, would love to see a vintage Mike, even for like a round, if it can last, and he'd take this kid out. Then that would be the Cinderella ending we'd like. I don't think that's going to be necessarily the case because I think there's a lot of, and I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I think there's a lot of understanding going on here.
You mean a work? A work, as
Does that make sense?
Yeah, a work in professional wrestling, as they call it.
Right, exactly.
And I want to know, are there any...
Because if he doesn't have that in, where's the win-win?
Yeah, and you look
Where they're going to go the distance, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, see, look, when you look at Mike Tyson's body, it looks great, especially for his age. It looks great, period. But it's like that old car, that classic old car that looks great. You take it around the block. You're not doing a road trip with the doggone thing.
Dude,
you don't know how much gas is really in the tank.
To use a car analogy, I don't want it to be like the Blues Brothers car at the end.
Push when they got to Chicago.
I don't want it to be like where they got to Chicago.
When they got to Chicago, it just fell apart, man.
The little kitten is gonna be sad.
But the Penguin got her church though. They did deliver the check.
Right.
But look, this is a money-making operation. He's been good at it. And look, there's other fights, other quote-unquote real boxing on this card. A rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Mario Barrios against Abel Ramos in defense of his WBC welterweight title. And by the way, one of our favorite guys, Bruce Shoo Carrington, is actually on the YouTube version of the cards. Great story behind this because the Brooklyn connection. Mike Tyson said, I want Shoo on the card.
That's cool,
and I think that's great that Bruce says, you know what, let me get back in here, make some money.
Yeah.
He's going to do a great job promoting himself and this event. So maybe we'll bring on Bruce next week, talk about the experience. But again, I've heard different things about how well is this going to sell on a Friday night.
Well, it doesn't have to. It's on Netflix.
Netflix. We're just talking, not pay-per-view. AT&T Stadium has a lot of seats. That's a big venue.
You mean in
Live
the thing. I think they're going to be generous with those tickets. I think they're going to be generous. I actually got offered to go, and I'm going to be out of the country this weekend. But I might have gone just for the trip. And just to check it out. But, oh, man, I'm just curious. I just don't want Mike to get hurt. I just don't want Mike to get hurt
or
at
embarrassed.
This age.
Or
embarrassed. Exactly. You're exactly right. Does it hurt his legacy? No, but it's just, it's not going to help it. And again, if I'm Jake, I'm really like, what's, unless it's a pure money play and he's going to go in there and then it gets real for a minute, and Mike takes
Well,
him
let's
out.
be honest. The money is why they're doing this. They are
Absolutely.
putting the prize in prize fighting, and to be fair, a lot of other boxers are going to be making a pretty good amount of money.
then good for them.
And there's opportunities
Sure.
on this particular date that otherwise may not be available to them for the rest of the year.
And let's say Mike wins. Okay? Mike gonna fight again? Like, is that, you know what I mean? Do we see that
God,
again?
Don't give him any.
Well, that's what I'm
ideas.
saying.
I
Then
mean,
what happens?
Yeah.
Do we continue to see him fight?
Oh God.
That's what I'm saying. Either way, it's a weird deal.
Yeah.
Because if Jake wins, then people are gonna be like, "Well, you fucking beat an old man," and Mike wins. Like, well, okay, what's next for Mike?
Look, look, the Seniors League is for golf. Maybe for tennis. It ain't for boxing.
Right.
Mario, but Saturday, there actually is a real card in Saudi Arabia. It's Latin night. Orale and Huepa as part of the Riyadh season, the main event.
That's right.
Cruiserweight unification bout. Zurdo Ramirez takes on Chris Billiam Smith. Junior welterweight battle. Jose Ramirez takes on Arnold Barboza. And then William Zepeda takes on Tevin Farmer.
Oh, it's going to be a fun card.
And then also one of the most exciting young champions, little champions in the world, WBA strawweight champion Oscar Collazo out of Puerto Rico takes on knockout CP Fresh Mart.
That's a fun card.
It is a fun card, top to bottom. You know, Gilberto Ramirez, I'm glad he made the move up to cruiserweight because it didn't seem like at this time in his life he wanted to be a light heavyweight anymore.
No, he just said, fuck it, I'm going to
But
start here.
as I told Eric Gomez when he was here on this seat, I was impressed by what I saw
So was
against
I.
Gulamarian.
He's a very athletic, even though he may not physically look it, he's elusive in there.
Right.
I've actually moved around. He's a super nice guy. Obviously took it easy, but he's very elusive and he's got nice footwork. He's a southpaw, obviously, being zurdo. But I think his athleticism and
Translates.
It does.
Because he has a chin. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Gulamarian had heavy hands, and I kept waiting
Yeah.
for Gulamarian to kind of break through the wall. It never happened. I mean, I was not worried about the athleticism. Look, if you can get in there as a world-class super middleweight, there's going to be no 200-pounder that's going to out-athlete you. But again, the punch resistance
Right.
matters, and
Yeah,
it
it
looks to
does.
me, at least on that particular night, Gilberto Ramirez has the whiskers. Mario, this to me is your classic crossroads bout. I have kind of doubted Jose Ramirez's commitment to the sport the last 3 years. Turns down title shots. He says, hey, look, I'm getting married. I don't want to do it. Or you're paying me only 1.25 for this fight. I don't want it. Well, Arnold Barboza has been a perennial contender the last 3-4 years, it
He's
seems
hungry.
like. You know what? I'm going to go with the hungry guy. I'll take Barboza here when you put it that way. He is the hungrier guy.
Yeah, and this is a crossroads fight. That you described it perfectly. And look, Ramirez has been in there with obviously better opposition. He's an experienced guy, but I do think Barboza is hungry. Didn't necessarily look fantastic in his last time.
Yeah,
out.
the Garcia Haney undercard. He
Correct.
struggled a lot.
So I
Jeez.
think he's got something to prove. He might have a little chip on his shoulder. I think that fight's gonna be fireworks.
And William Zepeda's taking on Tevin Farmer.
Well, I always love this. You know, anytime you get to see him.
Orale Cameron. And look, if you're going to prepare
Correct.
for Shakur Stevenson,
That's a good little
Tevin
fight.
Farmer, who gave Murataya fits back in the summer, I was at that fight. I remember in round 8, I was looking, and I said to myself, I don't know who's winning. I wasn't completely sure who had won that fight. If Zepeda can really get Farmer out of there or dominate him, guess what? I would say if I'm Golden Boy, okay, let's see what we have here. If you want Shakur Stevenson, be careful what you wish for,
Yes,
but
I
let's
like that.
make that happen. All right, moving on. Ask Mario segment of the fine program. 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino. Here's one from Ryan Longer. Do you see any young heavyweight from the United States who could someday fight for a world title in the somewhat near future? Mario, we thought that guy was Big Baby, but from about a year and a half on, I don't think mentally he was in the sport, and then he just got blown out by Bacoli, and quite frankly, I don't know if I see another guy out there on the horizon, an American one.
Not at the moment. An American one. That's key. Correct.
And I know Tom Frank has that southpaw from up north, but he's awfully small. And who knows, maybe he becomes the first name-brand Bridgerweight guy. I still don't know how Big Baby Anderson is going to react. That was an absolute bludgeoning he got from Dad Bod Bacoli at the BMO Stadium.
Those are some heavy hands. I
Yes,
like that.
absolutely. Here's one from Derek Batista. Hey, Steve and Mario, am I crazy to think that Bam Rodriguez is actually slightly overrated. As technically sound as he is, he seems to be on the slow side, and both Nakatani or the Monster would be way too much for him to handle.
Well, both things could be true. Number one, I think you're incorrect. He's definitely not overrated.
I completely disagree with that.
Think that's a ridiculous statement. Now, whether he might be a little too slow or not up to par with Nakatani or the Monster, that's different. But that doesn't mean he's overrated by all means. And I actually think it'd be a really good fight. I'd love to see. I mentioned it earlier. I'd love to see it against Nakatani. Let's see it.
Here's one thing Bam Rodriguez has. He's compact. And he's very, very quick in his movement. There's no wasted movement. Is he the fastest fighter of all time? No, but I've also seen a lot of fast fighters get knocked down. Abdullah Mason is a speed merchant.
Right. It's all timing.
Right.
too.
And so when I look at a guy like Bam, here's what I see. Mastery of technique and fundamentals. And he slows the game down.
And that'll always give anybody
Right.
problems.
And I've never actually thought he was slow. Look, I don't think Canelo is fast, but he's compact.
Right.
Again, no wasted movement to what he does.
I don't think he's Canelo slow either, though. Same thing.
All right, and you got to have good eyes and good reflexes,
Right.
and I think he has all of that. Here's one from the Mex best thing. How do you juggle Dana and Oscar's friendship? Do you feel like the 38th parallel?
Dude, we're not in high school.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man. Everybody's a grown man, and they both tease me. But
Hey, how's that asshole doing over there?
No.
Yeah.
There's never a bad word spoken because I know I'm friends with both of them, and I don't say anything. But I'm friends with a lot of people, by the way, where dudes don't like each other, but I happen to be friends with both of them. Like, I don't play games. I'm cool with everybody. So it just so happens to be. I've been friends with both of them for a long time, and it is what it is.
Mid-show moniker, Mario Switzerland Lopez.
Switzerland, yeah.
He's friends with both me and you.
Yeah, that's
we don't
true.
like each other.
Yeah, exactly. We hate each
Well,
other.
no one likes Kim,
Yeah.
dude. So I'm friends with.
Here's one from Clay Stevenson, one of our great friends. Hey, Mario, based on the last performances of Boots and Virgil Ortiz, how do you see a fight playing out between them? I always had it 50-50 after this weekend. I'm not too sure anymore. I think Clay is leaning towards Virgil.
I think once he goes to, let me tell you, after I see a fight at him at 54,
Yeah.
I honestly think that could be a huge difference.
Right, because let's be honest, Virgil Ortiz got knocked down twice, and a lot of people thought maybe Boachuk won the fight. But to be fair, when I look at Virgil's resume, it is much better than Boots.
Yes.
One guy is the eye test. Let's be honest about it.
No, I agree. I still think it would make a huge difference had him go. I'd love to see that fight now.
That's a fight that should be made.
Absolutely.
Let's not miss that one. Here's one from David. Mario, there's talk that if Fury loses to Usyk, Matchroom and Queensberry are going to press ahead with two fights between Fury and Joshua next year, one in a stadium in England and the other in Saudi Arabia. Question, is that fight still important if both Fury plus Joshua have two losses to champion Usyk? I would say yes.
I would too, especially in the UK.
Right. One of them has to be in the UK.
One of them's got to be in the UK, and it depends how he loses too.
In my
if he were to
view,
lose.
because these guys are iconic brands in Britain, I'm not saying it doesn't matter that they have lost to Usyk, but some of the greatest rivalries like Barrero Morales, they had losses to other people. Gaddy Ward had a lot of losses to other people. When Ali and Frazier fought, I believe, the second and third time, I don't think either of them was undefeated.
Right.
So keep that in mind. Let's not be fixated by the zero.
No, of course not. I told you, we've had to get out of that attitude,
Right.
and that's why the UFC does well.
Now, could you make an argument that you wish they would have fought 3 years sooner? Yeah, but you know what? Beggars cannot be choosers. Here's one from Kevin. Is it fair now to say Boots Ennis is just a very good fighter, but not quote-unquote special? He's not Canelo Crawford. He's more Lamont Peterson, Joshua Claude. I think he's better than those two guys, I'll be honest.
Those guys weren't terrible fighters, by the way. I thought they were solid fighters. But, man, it's crazy. You have one night maybe where you don't look your best and people are jumping off.
Stock just dips, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know you're judged kind of by your last
What have you done for me
performance.
lately?
Exactly. This could bode well for him. More people might want to step into the ring with him now.
Yeah.
And I think if he moves up, it'll even be more of a benefit.
I hope that he gets a little bit more active. Just put in a year with 3 fights.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 and see where it gets you. And a move up in weight, that's something him and his father, Bozy, are going to have to discuss. Like, son, be honest. How do you really feel? Because you're right, that can absolutely impact the way you perform, the way you weigh in. And another one from Ryan Longer. Do you think Sergio Martinez will make the Boxing Hall of Fame someday?
Ooh, that's interesting.
It's got a good case, actually.
Yeah, I think he does. He has one of the most spectacular knockouts I've
Paul
seen.
Williams in the rematch. Oh, my God.
Blah, that big overhand left. And he held the middleweight title for a while. He's got some great...
And he was undisputed, I believe.
He was undisputed. Yeah, that's... Oh, he's like right there. He's kind of...
He was a world champion, I believe.
It's not like you just answer yes
Right.
right away, but anytime you have to pause and think about it...
Look, I believe he was a belt holder at 54. Was involved in a fight of the year, the first fight with Paul Williams. At least that was a candidate.
Right.
Then he had a knockout of the year. Then he was a guy that beat an undefeated version of, I believe, he beat a very good version of Kelly Pavlik, rallied late, and then for a while defended those titles. There's a pretty good case, actually, for Maravilla.
Yeah, I always feel like he should have been a bigger star than he was.
Right.
Too. I don't know if it was mismanaged.
I mean, the way he
thing.
looked like a model.
Yeah, he was a handsome guy. He fought
Fun
well.
style.
Yeah, great style. He should have been a bigger star. But, I think so.
I think one day he'll get to Canastota.
Yeah.
One day.
So. That'd be good.
Mario, one news and note here before we get moving to final flurries. Turkey Al Sheikh has announced their organization has purchased Ring Magazine, and they've got big plans. In fact, they're bringing back the magazine version of it.
Oh, I
yeah,
like
so
that.
Congratulations to Doug Fisher.
Hey, my boy Doug. Well, I saw him hanging out in Turkey's box when we were over at the Sphere in the UFC.
Doing big things
Okay,
there. So we'll bring
Doug.
Doug in here before the end of the year, talking about
that's
what
good
he's
for
done.
him. Good
Right,
for him.
and by the way, I am glad that there's a magazine that's just not going digital because I know this for a fact.
I love having a magazine.
Well, like when you go to
The bathroom?
the bathroom, or when you take a flight. Like I bring a book. You can go online, but there's something about having a book that's
So do I agree.
My belief is that they're going to try to make this Ring Championship the championship. They've got some big plans. He
got it.
Detailed
Okay.
out what they're
So-
going to do.
fun.
And they're going to make these magazines into like collector's items. The stock of the paper, the picture
Nice.
quality. 3 years ago, they did an anime cover of Inoue. You go on eBay, and I happen to have one that Doug gave me. It's in really good condition. I looked up on eBay one day out of curiosity. That edition is worth $350. So scarcity can create value.
Things get tough for you, Kim. There you go.
There I go. And it's funny though. I've seen fighters react to their first ring cover. It's a great honor.
Of course it is.
It really is a great honor.
Yeah, that's
and here's the
cool.
thing. I can't go up to a fighter if I was an autograph seeker and have like a...
Can you sign my tablet?
Yeah, can you sign my tablet? Yeah, I want the magazine. So congratulations to everyone there.
That's cool.
Big stuff.
Final flurries.
Mario, final flurries. We were not in session. What happened, though? But congrats to the Big Blue Doyers.
Dude, that was
They did it for Fernando.
That was honestly, I think that had a lot to do with it. The angel was looking up above
El Toro.
El Toro,
No, no,
and
no.
oh man, that was fairy tale. I mean, everyone obviously knows what happened in the Freddie Freeman. I was at game 2 when first 2 games were very, very close. And the fact that they did it to the Yankees. Do you know 4 out of the 8 World Series championships have been against the Yankees?
Yeah.
And that's always fun. So I'm really, happy about that. And to think that next year they might even be stronger because a lot of the starting, I honestly was surprised.
Is
as far as
Shohei
we
going to
got-
pitch next year?
Well, he tore his
Right.
labrum when he was sliding in. The plan is yes. I'd rather him not. After the season I'd rather just concentrate on leadoff and his bat. But the plan is yet, and coincidentally, they're looking like the strong favorites to get that Sasaki, that stud.
Yeah, because they don't
Japanese
have
pitcher.
enough players. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, dude, it's always like the same guys. Oh, you can say the same about the Padres. You can say the same about the Yankees. You can say the same about the Mets. They're all getting stacked.
This World Series reminded me a lot of '88.
And absolutely, with Freddie Freeman being Kirk Gibson.
when Kirk Gibson hit that home run, I said, "Uh-oh."
He hit it at the same exact time, 8:37.
Yeah, numerology there. And I said, this is deja vu all over again, as the great Yogi Berra said. Mario, you finally caught up and watched it. Your thoughts on Mr. McMahon on Netflix?
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And being a pro wrestling fan, the nostalgia in the first part was great. I left thinking this about him. I love that he didn't hold a grudge. people left him. The Hulk basically betrayed him. And I love Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
who looks great, by the way. Yeah. How good does the Hulk look for Blackie in his 70s?
You know
Seriously.
why? Because he took his vitamins.
Yeah, he said his prayers. And he said his prayers. He always he kind of betrayed him basically, but because it was good for business, he offered him back.
Well, he didn't
Bret
hold a
Hart,
grudge.
who hated him.
The Montreal screw job.
Yes,
Ooh.
and then he brought him back though. He brought him back, and then he had his family, and I forgot that he was such a character later on. It got a little messy at the end.
A little?
Well, a lot of messy with his shenanigans. You know what I mean? His little shenanigans. But I'm talking about his daughter being in charge, and then Triple H.
Yeah.
The fact that he kind of pitched Triple H to his daughter was great. And then my friend, Nick Khan.
Yeah.
Our
Nick Khan, yeah.
Who's
I know Nick
basically,
very well.
I sat next to Nick Khan at Game 2 of the World Series this time when we were talking about everything. But who's really running it? He's their greatest promoter ever, though. Greatest promoter. But I didn't walk away feeling, and when he was so passionate about, I didn't walk away thinking he did them dirty. I thought I was going to walk away kind of not liking him as much. Did you, or was it just me?
I'm not judgmental. Look, as a child growing up in Valencia for the most part, and then later, I'd say up until my sophomore year of high school, when Roddy Piper walked away, I kind of faded out in terms of my interest. But I would say from about 83 to about 87, I was a hardcore WWE fan because that's what they showed out in L.A.
WWF.
The F, right. And I never knew Vince McMahon was the actual, the CEO, or that his dad, he was this big guy. He would be the announcer. He would host TNT, the studio show. I never knew he was actually the guy. That's like being Don King, Bob Costas, Howard Cosell, and George Steinbrenner all at once.
All at once. And how about when because this was out of our era, but in the Attitude Era, when he became like a main character?
Right. No,
that was wild, huh?
Right. And
his whole family in it.
My only quibble, and I get it, there's issues with budget, and he passed away. I thought more should have been made of the role of Roddy Piper, because my argument is,
oh my God,
he's the second most important guy behind Hulk Hogan. He was the perfect in fact, he's the one who really set up WrestleMania. Remember when he got the gold album and he put it up over Lou Albano when Christy Lauper and the manager were there and he body slammed him. That was
trying to
unbelievable.
find
that was
the
on
list.
MTV, by the way.
Did you see the list I sent on IG? They said the most important wrestlers of all time in WWF. It's a crime that Hulk Hogan wasn't number one. They said Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, it's Hulk.
No,
it's Hulk.
And they put Hogan at 2. I said no.
Hogan is the Babe Ruth.
Hogan is
He's the Babe Ruth.
By all, yes. By far.
Right.
I would say Hogan.
And then Dusty Rhodes.
I love you. That's a personal. I love Dusty Rhodes and I love me Ric Flair.
The
But I would say
American Dream.
Hogan, and then maybe somebody like The Rock, because during, you got to say, and then maybe Stone Cold, and then maybe Ric Flair, and then maybe Savage. I'd actually put Savage over Roddy Piper, bro. And I love Roddy Piper too. But I think Savage, just because he was able to.
I don't disagree, but I will say this. When they would show the Saturday morning wrestling with all the jobbers, would be a bunch of blowouts. The best part was Piper's Pit.
Piper's Pit, dude, of course.
And it was amazing.
That was when we were kids.
And I remember when Cowboy Bob Orton, AC baby, became boxing Bob Orton, but he was like the bodyguard. He had that arm that was never healed.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing, but I wish they would have at least mentioned the hot rod.
It was a great
era. Great era.
It was a great era, but the whole documentary I thought was really good.
And still one of my
created $1 billion business.
There's no doubt. And one of my fondest memories when I first moved to Montebello, our Lomerset Intermediate baseball team, we went to WrestleMania 2. It was a 3-site.
He regretted that one. Remember that? He said, "I'll never do that again." When they had the different sites.
Well, it was Nassau Coliseum, and they had the boxing match between Piper and Mr. T. In Chicago, it was the Battle Royale, and a lot of the Chicago Bears.
And then it was King Kong Bundy
against Hulk Hogan at the LA Sports Arena, and Elvira was our announcer in I remember way too much, but I'm just telling you, I was a fan at one time. Mario, you're going out of town for a big gig this weekend.
Going to Mexico City to host Miss Universe.
Orale.
Yeah, with all the fights and I'm going on, I got to figure out a way to watch all that. But yeah, I've hosted it before. Mexico City, most beautiful women in the world. It's not a bad gig, so I'll have a good time.
Yeah.
And I'll be back.
Yeah, try to watch the fights if you can.
I will. Yeah, I'll be right on top of that. No, on Sunday I'm catching up. On Sunday I'll be catching up.
All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of the show. We want to say, again, if you want to sponsor our fine program, email us at info@boxbid.io. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smokin' Tim Frazier, and Tino on the edits, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.